We are going to be talking about parallel lines today. So what is a parallel line?
They are lines.
What type of lines? Looking at these two pictures right here, what can you tell parallel lines are?
They're two straight lines.
Straight lines? Are they touching in any way?
Nah.
Okay, so parallel lines never touch. They're normally same distance at one end and at the other end, and they never intersect. So what are some things that you could think of in a real life experience of what would represent parallel lines?
This line's on a sidewalk.
Yeah, the lines on the sidewalk don't intersect. Are you talking about the ones where on each side or each individual square?
Each square.
Yeah, each square, the lines, even though it's a square, those sides are never touching, so they're parallel. What is another example of parallel lines?
Lampposts.
Lampposts aren't parallel lines because, first off, they're like a sphere, not a sphere, a cylinder. So cylinders don't have any straight lines. Okay, now that we know what parallel lines are, what are transversal lines looking at these two pictures?
They are lines that touch one another.
Yeah, transversal lines are lines that intersect one another and they can go through any line. They don't have a specific endpoint per se. So when lines intersect with a transversal line, do we know what would A and C be called in this picture? Are those
They're across from one another.
okay? What would A be called? What is right here in A? What is that?
Angle.
Yes, that isn't an angle. So when we deal with parallel lines, there's no specific angle because it's just a straight line. When we have a transversal line, there are going to be angles on all four sides. So now that we know what transversal lines are, what are perpendicular lines?
Lines that make T's.
They are lines that have each side equals 90 degrees. Do we know of any examples of either a perpendicular line or a transversal line in the world?
Streets.
Yes, streets can be either transversal or perpendicular because not all streets are straight. They come in at different angles. And then another example would be for the transversal would be train tracks. Because when they intersect to go a different direction, it's called a transversal line. So how would what would we use to find the angles, the measurement of the angles?
A protractor.
Yes, we can use a protractor. And then another way we can do it is by knowing the one measurement of like one angle, because we know a line is 180 degrees. So we can always subtract one angle from 180 to find angle B, because when you add them together, they form a straight line.
Okay.
Got it? Okay. So for example, if we have, a 45-degree angle, how would we find the other side?
You subtract.
Okay, so we would go 180 minus 45 would be 135. And this works when you know one angle, and then there's a whole bunch of different equations, but we'll get into that later about how to use those equations to find specific angles. But today we're just going to be working with angles and dealing with transversal lines, parallel lines, and perpendicular lines on the worksheets that you will be given. So raise your hands if you have any questions. Okay, so I'll hand out the worksheets and then you guys can get started.